pleased to introduce Dan Peltz, who is the founder of Shift Transition. And he's going to talk to you more about that. But Dan began life as a history teacher at a school for students with emotional disabilities. And when he realized that all the progress that his students, are you in this session? Session A? Nope? Okay. When he noticed that his students had made great gains under his amazing tutelage, but then they started to lose them after they graduated, he was concerned that they weren't making the transition to their college or their career with the same confidence and abilities that he had sent them out into the world. He decided to found an organization that would help them make that transition with more success. So I'm going to turn the session over to Dan, who's going to talk to you about all the wonderful things he does.
Thank you. No, that was thank you for that introduction. My name is Daniel Peltz, Program Director and founder of Shift Transition, which helps young adults prepare for college, employment, and independent living. Today I would like to talk to you about the journey that has brought me to the stage today, about why students struggle transitioning after high school.
Can we close the door?
Yeah, actually that would be great.
It's a little noisy out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So why students struggle transitioning after high school and what parents and educators can do in order to help. As Ms. Goldstein said, I began my career 5 years ago working as a history teacher at a private school for students with special needs, exclusively with emotional disabilities, which I very much enjoyed. However, a couple of years into this job, I began to notice a disturbing trend, that many of our students were out of school or work with little prospects for the future within 6 months of graduation. These were smart kids who easily completed the academic requirements of high school, yet were missing something. I began to search for answers. That search brought me to pursue my master's degree in special education at Montclair State University. While I was there, I was able to take newly created classes on transition services. As I learned about the services available to some, it was clear to me that there were still many gaps in the system. Oh, no problem. I began to develop my own transition program, and after graduating with my degree, I left my job to start Shift Transition. Transition for the past couple of years has become an obsession of mine. I've attempted to collect as much research and as many strategies as I could in order to help young adults during this very difficult time in their lives. Today I'm going to present to you some of what I've learned, hopefully in some type of logical manner. The first thing I learned is that the problem that I observed in the small private school I worked at was actually a microcosm of a much larger national problem. That the jump from high school to employment in college is actually one of the largest and most arduous jumps that any individual will make in their lives. The evidence for this difficulty is clear. While 70% of students try to go to college after high school, only about 56% are going to graduate after 6 years. Of the students who go to community college, only 30% will graduate. So we know that college completion rates are alarmingly low. By the time young adults are age 27, only 40% will have some type of post-secondary degree. When you combine this with the fact that employment opportunities for young adults have dropped by over 20%, and you get the perfect recipe for disaster. Currently, only 3 in 10 recent high school graduates are employed full-time, which has led to another disturbing trend. Families are now spending 10% of their income on young adult children. For many families I know, this is a lot more. So far, the population I've been discussing is not exclusive to students with special needs. This is a phenomenon that's happening with all students and all young adults today. But we do know statistically that students with special needs are less likely to enroll in complete post-secondary education. They are less likely to obtain employment and to find that true sense of independence. So we know what the current trends are. What are the current supports available? Where are the gaps in the system as I observe them? It all starts in high school with very thorough case management. You have one person that's assigned to each family and student That is their connection to services, resources, information. They're also in charge of creating a transition plan with other members of the child study team. However, once they graduate, nobody really takes over this role, or it falls to you as parents. While they come up with the transition plan, nobody's actual job is to implement this transition plan, and as we know, all plans go exactly as we thought them up.
I have a question.
Yes?
I don't know about this private school where you were at, but I'm assuming that the guidance counselor's role is to help in that transition?
Absolutely. Their job is to plan the transition. But once they graduate, you don't see the guidance counselor anymore.
We're out of the system.
Yeah. I imagine that you could, and they hopefully will be kind enough to say, yeah, come on in. If our plan that we created isn't working, let's work on it. However, that typically isn't the case. And at that point, many families are on their own. Hopefully the transition plan is clear and thorough enough to work. And if you have a really great case manager and a really great child study team, typically that is the case. But even then, sometimes the plans don't quite work out. So part of your transition plan might be DVR, or the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services. There, you will also be assigned a case manager. However, this case manager is a little bit different. They don't have that same holistic view. Their main goal is employment. So you'll be assigned this case manager, and they will inevitably give you a choice. They'll say, would you like to pursue college or a training program, or would you like to pursue employment? You cannot choose both. You have to do one or the other. They don't provide services for both. So when you get this choice, let's say you choose college or a training program. They can provide you with some really basic general guidance, no different from a guidance counselor would provide. They also can provide you with financial assistance if that's a barrier for an individual to pursue higher education. They can provide some of that. However, these are the only real supports they have in that area. If you choose supported employment, they're going to give you a list of companies that do supported employment for a living. Your job is to look through this list, and hopefully they'll give you some suggestions on which ones might be better than others. And once you choose the company that you think has the best chance of giving your son or daughter employment in the future, then you let them know, and they'll give that company about 20 to 40 hours typically to find you a job, to train you in it, and then coach you in it. After these 20 to 40 hours are up and you've held a job for 60 to 90 days, they close the case and you are once again on your own. So they do a great job at finding some types of employment. However, it's geared specifically for this. It's not really a holistic type of case management. So where are the gaps as I see them? Actually, let me backtrack a second. The other thing you could do is try to pursue college on your own, which is not a bad option. Certainly you'll get certain supports from the Office of Special Services. Typical accommodations include extra time. A lot of colleges have a note taker. They provide any type of assistive technology that you might need, and if there are any physical barriers or handicaps, they can accommodate that as well. However, it's really up to the young adult to be largely self-sufficient. They need to know what services to access and when to access them. Nobody's going to be holding their hand through that process, certainly. So the gaps in the system, as I see them, is students that are extremely low functioning get great services through DDD, the Division of Developmental Disabilities. They provide day programs and ongoing support through various services that are really quite adequate to live a high quality of life. Students that are very high functioning and typical learners are able to use the system as it is. They only need basic accommodations, and they're able to kind of make it on their own without that extra support. However, it's the students in the middle, that kind of gray area, where they just don't have the adequate support services that are really necessary. And these are the ones that are falling through the cracks here. Or, so when it comes to support, that often falls to the parents. And what these young adults really need is 1 to 2 semesters of support, where somebody who knows the system is able to provide guidance, information, just general direction, and continue to build upon the skills that they've been learning in college, learning in high school. So they're able to continue building upon these. So,
Is that
yes.
for college? You're saying that the TTD offers that for college bound or for?
Oh, no, they don't really have college support services. They mainly have what's known as day programs and different services. Day programs is very similar to a school where you'll go there from 9 to 5 and they'll provide some type of skills training and activities. They might have employment there. It really depends on the day program. A lot of them, you know.
But they're not helping for you to be independent? Is that what you're
Not
saying?
exactly. Not certainly in the way that you would think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So basically what you're saying is that DDD goes to a certain point, from what I understand talking to DDD, they will go to a certain point depending also on the level of the individual.
Yes.
You know, and there's still like a major gap where what I found is there's not necessarily someone to help you with a bridge. So therefore,
Yeah. DDD provides this long-term pervasive help. But in order to qualify for DDD services, the individual has to be very low functioning. There has to be a developmental disability. So it would include individuals that are on the autism spectrum. It'll include anyone with an intellectual disability or anything of that nature, Down syndrome. So they have to be significantly prepared in order for them to qualify for that service.
I'm confused. What did you just say regarding 1 to 2 semesters of support? Who provides that? Or
Nobody. That's
Oh,
I'm saying
okay.
that's what they need.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
A lot of what I'm talking about is what should be happening
Okay.
rather than what is. So what they really need is 1 to 2 semesters or 1 to 2 years of support to help them kind of ease into this very large jump and very large transition that they're about to embark on, where they will provide support and continue to build skills and just general direction. And a lot of times this falls to parents to provide this because there aren't a lot of services out there. However, that also is not always the best case scenario. From what I've observed, at this age, many young adults have become quite tired and weary of listening to their parents. You might start getting that blank face where what you're saying kind of goes in one ear and out the other. You're not sure if they're really listening or they become defensive. So judging by your reactions, that this tends to happen.
Are you talking about the parents or the child?
I think it's a combination
Maybe
of
both. Maybe both.
Okay.
So certainly,
Parents are tired too at this point.
yeah.
Because they could, you know, honestly, from a parent's perspective, you don't always get the support yourself. So if you don't know how to navigate the system because you don't have support from your background, then how are you supposed to get it for your kids if you've never gone that threshold yourself?
Exactly. And it's certainly a very big catch-22 situation because you know that your son or daughter needs support, but you're often the last person that they really want it from. At this age, young adults are eager to show you that they can make it on their own, that they want that fresh start and they don't really need some of the traditional supports that they've had, but you know and they secretly know too that they do still need these. It's just that the families are often not the ones that they want it from. So let me move on now to why is this happening? Why is this happening on such a large scale? What is really the nature of the problem? So now there's two factors I'm going to touch upon. The first is, of course, the economy that is dragging this down a little bit. There aren't quite enough employment opportunities for young adults today. A lot of college graduates can't find work, and oftentimes they're competing with recent high school graduates for these part-time jobs just to get by until they can find that job. So that's certainly one major struggle. Another, however, this trend is beginning to reverse. The job market is, of course, slowly but surely making its way back to normal, and I expect this not to be as big a barrier in the future. But what is that barrier is low college completion rates. Having some type of post-secondary education is the way towards success. Maybe not 4 years of liberal arts college, but some type of post-secondary education. So the key question here is, why are academically capable, intelligent students not completing college at an appropriate rate? Why are they not completing a post-secondary program when 94% of parents still expect their kids to go to college?
I would think,
Finances.
I don't know whether it's it's also the background that maybe that the children aren't getting, or the adults maybe don't have the support or the background to give them the steps to get to that point. Because when you're talking about someone who has a learning disability possibly, who, whatever their level is, that's gonna be totally different when they're in high school or coming out of high school versus when you're going to a college level, even if you have a disability, possibly what the step is from what they expect you to already know.
Yeah.
Is that?
Certainly, yes, it is a very large jump, and that's a big part of it. And you said finances before. Sometimes it can be finances. Certainly, DVR will help pay for some of that if you qualify for those services, which with any barrier to employment or any special need you do. And also there are a lot of scholarships and grants out there. But a lot of research has actually looked at this very question on why young adults are not completing college as they need to. Because college graduates still make $20,000 more per year on average than non-college graduates, and they're really the best way towards meaningful employment. It's the best way to achieve not just an hourly job, but an actual career.
Sometimes a young adult entering right after 18 into the college, they don't really know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And what they want to study. So I see a lot of so-called normal kids taking the 6 years because they've changed their major 3 times.
Yeah, and that's certainly a big part of it. That's actually one of the studies does address that.
I was going to say also, once they're on their own, they don't have the guidance to maybe maintain their focus, and they're not assertive enough to seek out what they need in college on their own. They've been handed things in high school. So
That's going to be a big part of.
Really big problem, and that has to do also with maturity. I mean, there's kids with no learning disabilities who could do that.
Exactly, and that's something I'm going to talk a lot about a little bit later in the presentation. You had a question?
Yeah, Dan, I think there's a lot of disillusionment. We're making,
Wait, hold that thought a little bit.
There's a lot of disillusionment in terms of, the implicit bargain.
Yeah.
Is broken, right? And it's
Yes.
not like damaged, it's broken, nothing's replaced it. So there's
Yes.
not that goal, at the end of the road that
Exactly.
you kind of know is going to be there.
And I'm going to talk about that in 2 seconds. That's why I tried to stop you. It's exactly. It's going to. Let me cover some of these, and if you have questions after that or comments.
I just wanted to add something to that as well. That it used to always be years ago, like that was the be all end all to getting your career, getting your job.
College and
but now
you
because
get
of the
successful.
employment and everything, I mean, there's a lot of other options with technical vocation or other vocational schools or something like that to get training that, like you said, research shows that, you get 20,000, maybe 20,000 more, but you're saying, that's research, but I don't know if that's the case in all, in all types of positions.
It certainly depends on your major.
Yeah.
But if you don't get that college degree or don't get a post-secondary degree in any area, it's going to be really tough for you to get that.
So you're saying even
base
if you
salary.
go to like a training school where you get like certification or some kind
I'm
of
saying
credential.
that's probably where you should be going.
Oh.
That's certainly a great. That's a post-secondary program.
Oh,
It's
I see
not
what you're
college,
saying.
but
Okay.
I'm saying post-secondary programs in general. This study that I'm about to highlight right now actually came out from the Harvard's Graduate School of Education, titled Pathways to Prosperity, in 2012. It actually blamed the liberal arts 4-year colleges for all goal and the lack of focus on vocational education for a lot of young adults not succeeding. It also blamed high school and college advisors, which their caseloads in some schools and universities can be as high as 500 to 1,000 to 1 if you look at what the total population is and how many actual advisors there are. There is a lot of bad advice going around. Another study that I want to highlight is a study out of Child Trends that stated that students lack the developmental readiness or maturity for college. I'm going to read a quick quote from this study. Broad agreement exists that in order to be ready for college and work and to flourish in life, young people need psychological assets, such as self-esteem, high expectations, and future goal orientation accompanied by appropriate planning. They need various learning strategies and motivation. They need social assets such as good communication skills, social competence, conflict resolution skills, and cross-cultural competency, appropriate behavior, and engagement in school and community. So this is a really lengthy kind of description of a whole number of skills that young adults need, but they all fall into kind of the same category, the psychological and social skills necessary to be successful. So they blamed students lacking these skills for a lot of the issues that they're running into. The last study that I want to highlight is from the UCLA Center for Mental Health in Schools, and they highlighted a very simple formula. Expectations times value equals motivation. Expectations refers to self-beliefs. Do I think I'm going to be successful? Was I successful in the past? When I wasn't, why didn't I succeed? Was it lack of effort, lack of help, lack of ability? Value refers to both intrinsic and extrinsic value. Extrinsic value refers to rewards such as getting an A in class. It also refers to avoiding punishment such as anger from one's parents. However, no matter how angry you can get, or any parent can get, it is shown that this motivation only lasts very short term. It's not enough to get somebody through a post-secondary education program. What will get somebody through is the intrinsic value in the activity. So they need to, when it comes to education, this refers to what I call the 4 C's. Feeling curious about what you're learning, feeling competent, feeling a sense of control and self-determination in your own life, and feeling a sense of connectedness to either the place you're in or the people that are around you. You need both of these, you need both expectations and value in order to be successful. Because all young adults struggle at some point, whether it's the first week of your training program or finals week. If you lack the expectation and you hit that first roadblock, you're going to say, you see, I knew I couldn't do it. If you lack the value and you hit that roadblock, you're going to say, it's just not for me, it's boring, I just don't want to, it's not worth the trouble. So just as the gentleman in the back said before, what is happening is students are becoming disillusioned. This is mainly due to the fact that they might have had negative expectations and past failures. They might not see a value in it, as oftentimes their classes, especially early on in their post-secondary experience, have nothing to do with the career that they want to go for. They might feel a sense of disconnectedness from the campus, as this happens to a lot of first-year commuters. They might feel like they don't have a choice or self-determination in their own lives, as we tell them, there's only one road, finish this program or nothing. And they may lack the developmental readiness and maturity for college. Now, what percentage of young adults do you think this is happening to currently?
I'd say a large block.
80.
80%? Wow.
65.
70.
Okay, that's actually, usually I get kind of lowball guesses, but according to the Harvard study, it's as high as 45%. So I'll read.
You're talking about the general population.
I'm talking about everybody, including students with and without special needs. So certainly students with special needs are definitely in that category. So I'm going to read a quick quote from this study. What about the other 45% of young Americans? These are the same 45% of students who say they were bored in high school, who dropped out or never got past remedial courses in community college, and might wistfully say a few years after high school that they wish they had applied themselves more. They are the young people most likely to hit the wall after high school, running smack into the harsh realities of unemployment or dead-end sub-living wage jobs. What is our strategy for equipping them with the credentials they need to be full participants in American society? So naturally, when a problem emerges like this, our natural tendency is to figure out who is to blame. Is it the high schools? Is it the colleges? Is it parents? Is it students? Is it the social service agencies? What I've come to understand is that no one is to blame, but rather a new need has naturally emerged through existing gaps in the system. As time has changed, certainly circumstances for young adults have changed, and now it's important to focus on helping young adults transition successfully, to continue to build any lacking skills, and to provide the appropriate support and guidance where there hasn't been any tradition. So now I'll get to the point. What is the answer? How do we help young adults transition successfully? Well, once again, I'll look briefly towards some research. According to the National Secondary Transition Technical Assistance Center, there is such a thing, they have come up with 16 indicators of post-high school success. Basically, they looked at students that are successful and they said, what do these young adults have that these other young adults who weren't as successful didn't have? So a lot of these are taken care of in high school, and there's a wide variety of them. There's inclusion in general education. There's parental involvement is always important. Certainly there's participation in a transition program and different skill building programs. However, I'm going to highlight for you 6 today that I find are 6 different indicators of success that are universal for all young adults, that if these are really well developed, any young adult can be successful. So the first, of course, is...
And it's worked, like you've seen it in practice.
I've seen it work. I do it with my clients. I help them with these 6 areas, and it really, they're not easy, but these are the main 6 as I see them. So the first is having some type of early work experience, whether they are still in high school or just recently graduated. So here, you just want any job where a young adult can see how the world of work is very different from the world of school. How a boss and a teacher have absolutely nothing in common, and the expectations in that environment are completely different. So as parents, things that you can do to help are help them fill out that job application, help them go to a business that you frequent and ask them if they would take on your son or daughter for a couple shifts and allow them to gain some work experience that way. Of course, you could also ask your school district to provide this experience. I just came back from an structured learning experience conference where they talked about one of the laws in New Jersey is all high schools, all districts have to provide an opportunity for all high school students, regardless of special need or not, the option to engage in a structured learning experience, which is a job, an internship in the community, not in the school, where they can have training in employment skills. So the school district does have to provide this for you.
We had that years ago.
Huh?
We had that years ago.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's been around for a while, but a lot of high schools are kind of lagging in providing this for all types of learners. Sometimes they only provide it for students with, severe special needs. Sometimes it's only for typical learners.
I can tell you in the district where I live that, like, we asked about maybe going to school half day, going to vocational school half a day,
Yeah.
which they used to have programs like that, and they said they did away with it because they don't have time for the students to get all the required courses in that they need for college.
But here's
so
the thing.
college is
Yeah.
where they're all headed in high school. That's what all the guidance counselors are focused on. That's what all the core requirements are for.
What they actually have to do is provide you with high school credits for this experience.
Yeah.
So it is included in the high school experience. They have to, I'll get to your question in just a second. They do provide at least 5 credits minimum for any structured learning experience. So legally they do have to provide you with this. Do they always abide by those rules?
No.
If they can get away with it, no. But certainly if you get an advocate and you really push for this, legally they do have to offer you a structured experience.
Who helps fit the kids into that work experience, the guidance counselor?
They should have,
Structured
They should have a
It's an
separate.
actual program.
every
It's an actual
school,
class.
every school has to declare to the Department of Education one structured learning experience coordinator.
I see.
So they do have one. Maybe they're not working with all types of different students. Maybe they only have the program for specific students, but
I think
it is for all.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
for college prep, they do that.
Yeah.
They send them half a day over to
Yeah.
go up to work.
Absolutely, and they've had these programs traditionally.
Yeah,
We've
Absolutely.
had it back in the
we've had
70s.
this since we were kids.
Yeah.
But-
So
I
the deal
remember.
was, early
Oh,
on, they
yeah, I remember that
identified,
program.
basically they identified who's academically bright and who isn't. So you're either steered towards college
Right,
prep
I remember.
or metal shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
sure.
like-
Well,
And,
in
you know,
the-
they send you down to Bergen Tech and Hackensack to learn how to weld
Mhm.
and, you know, everything else.
Well,
Somewhere, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go over here. You've been sitting very patiently.
that's okay, cause I have something that just to counteract. Teachers are in schools and all we hear from so many administrators is relying on data. Did the was the preparation done in the classroom for the NJS? Did the school achieve AYP? Are they in a situation where they might be taken over by the state? And I've been in districts that have achieved AYP, haven't done it, have had low scores, have had wonderful scores. So how do you present this to an administrator, to a building principal or anybody else connected with the school, and you say that this is necessary, even if it wasn't required in the state of New Jersey, it's still necessary. How do you do that, and then on the other side, they're saying, well, the students have to be in the classroom X number of hours, they have to be learning this and this in
Yeah.
order to do well on the NJS.
Absolutely, and that's really what has happened. You remember it being where they did have all these great half-day programs, and they had a large emphasis on vocational education if that was the direction that somebody was really leaning towards. But somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was in the the 90s or the 2000s, they did away with a lot of these type of programs. I know that personally in the high school I went to, the auto shop closed, the carpentry class closed, and
Okay, for girls.
they got rid of a ton of these types of programs, and now these students that really want to pursue these experiences don't really have access to that. But legally, the school district does have to provide you with a structured learning experience out in the community and provide you with high school credits and count that as being in the classroom, because that it is connected to the New Jersey core curriculum standards. And certainly, if they don't, find a good advocate that can help you get those. Yeah.
You can find them in some of the private special ed schools. I work at Banyan Upper School. We have a very expansive structured learning experience. Starts in, well, we have it for all the grades. We take them out into the community to learn about the community in freshman year, sophomore year. They make products for a school store. Junior year, they run the school
But you know why?
store.
Because that's considered functional development, which a lot of high schools, they don't teach that for, I mean, all
Right.
kids need that, but they don't teach it. They figure somewhere along
Every
the way the
Thursday,
kids are gonna get it on their
we
own.
do half-hour classes instead of 40-minute classes, so the afternoon is open and the seniors go out to do internships in
That's
the
great.
community. And we
Great.
have an 18 to 21 program where the kids, if they're not quite ready to move on, and they all are doing work a couple days a week or half a day or all out in the community with our contacts. And I know there are a number of other special
There's a
programs
lot of
that
great
have-
transition programs out there, and
Yeah.
I've heard great things about the Banyan School Services. There's Springboard for people in
Springboard.
Bergen
Right.
County does great work. And a lot of them are focused, 18 to 21, but a lot of school districts are, I guess, reluctant to pay for some of those services, especially if you have a learner that's kind of on the border between, exactly, the one that's not low functioning enough to warrant a ton of services, but not high functioning enough to make it on their own. So that's really where the gap is, and a lot of them, the school district won't pay for the Banyan School. It would be
You have
great
to-
for them
We
to.
have to fight for our students, I mean.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why even for this, you need a really good special needs advocate to get you the appropriate resources that you need. I'm going to go on now to the next area, which is a really clear goal for the future, and these three are very closely tied together. They're very similar in a lot of ways. So a clear goal for the future research has shown that the more future perspective an individual has, the more likely they're going to be successful. So future perspective is the ability to picture yourself in great detail in the future as a successful adult, as far as career, as far as lifestyle, really any of those areas. So a great way to build this is to have your son or daughter talk to a mentor or a coach where they can help them, guide them on which career might be best. They can also, let's say they wanted to be an architect, that was their dream. Have them go talk to an architect and say, how did you get to where you are? What skills and what things do I need to learn now that are going to prepare me for that experience? So that's definitely a great option. And even you as parents, talking to your son or daughter about what career they should pursue in the future and what factors go into that decision. What
question?
Yeah.
What do you do with kids who you don't feel are being realistic with their future perspective? In other words, they have these lofty goals that you don't feel are really attainable, and then that's going to breed that failure rate way down.
I get that question. That's actually the question I get most often is, how do you deal with unrealistic expectations? I never squash a child's dream. I never say, you can't do that. What I will say is, you have to build up to it. If you really want that, you can get there if you really work hard. Let's say you want to be an architect and there are some severe learning disabilities there. So what you need to do is show me along the way that you can do that. And I believe in you and I know you can do it, but you're going to have to show me. So let's go for that associate's degree first. If you succeed there, then we'll try employment for a little while. Then we'll build up and we'll get a 4-year college degree. And so you can do that, but you need to build up, you need to have backup plans along the way. So you're not saying to them, I think you're going to fail. You're saying, I think you can succeed if you work hard enough, but we need to have that backup plan in place. That's really...
You got to make small attainable goals along the way.
Exactly.
That they can reach.
Create
and
that
then
safety
move
net.
on to the next step.
Yep. Create a safety net so when if they do fall off and they don't quite make it, they're at least somewhere where they can build from there.
So that's what I do with my son. I give him plan A and plan B. And it helps. Plan A doesn't come true, then plan B.
Yeah.
He's not totally disappointed then.
Or short-term,
it's really,
long-term, right? Or short-term and long-term.
Yeah, it's really one plan. It's all plan A with step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you hope they make it to step 4, but if they don't, they still have a solid foundation where they're able to really find still a good quality of life and good career. So what are the factors that go into helping somebody decide what career they should go into in the future? What do you
I think one of the future is talking to the right people, not only having the confidence, but having the opportunity to get mentors to help you. So therefore, and people it's one thing to have someone believe in you as far as like a teacher or something like that.
Yeah.
But outside the school aspect, while you're still going to school, possibly if you have other mentors, which my experience I don't necessarily see. And I think that is such a huge gap because you might have something like the Boys and Girls Club or something of that nature. There's a 4-year waiting list and they only deal with young kids. So anybody you're talking about, teenagers or graduates or college students, you don't have anybody as a mentor to help guide your child, whether it's a son or daughter, to get to that point if they don't have a male figure to do.
Definitely, I've seen exactly the same thing that you're describing, and that's a big reason why I went into this profession, because there was that kind of gap there. So if you did find a mentor or somebody to kind of give you some career guidance, what are some factors that go into picking a career?
Well, I know with my son, I just got to be one with the minimal amount of stress.
Okay, got to be a very minimal stress environment.
Right, yeah.
Excellent. What about interest? Very good.
I was going to say, my parents had been ill and my daughter had spent many hours visiting them in the hospital. I'm just wondering if that had anything to do with the fact that she became a nurse. I would not be surprised because she graduated high school, she knew immediately what she wanted to do.
Well, certainly there are very few actual careers that young adults are exposed to. A lot of them initially want to become teachers because that's what they see day in and day out. They don't know what a lot of these other jobs really entail on a day-to-day basis. And when you see the nurse, yeah, you say, you know what, I think I could do this, and I kind of enjoy doing this activity.
And she's enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And interest is a major factor in this. I use 4 different areas to help somebody, to guide them in which they should go into. The first is somebody's strengths. What are you really good at that you can capitalize on in order to find success in the work world? It's going to make your experience a lot easier if you can gear a job that's based around your strengths. The next, just as you said, interest and passion. Young adults are told this all the time, is follow your passion, follow your dream. And this is one of the most common forms of career advice, and certainly it's a very important one. However, it's just a small piece of the equation. There's a lot of other factors, which, just as you mentioned, low stress environments. So you need to look at a person's personality type, and a lot of people fail to look at what are the actual environmental demands of the job and how they relate to somebody's personality. So,
I just wanted to say,
yeah.
I had a conversation with someone recently about that. Like, for someone who is ADD, let's say, they would not obviously be able to be confined in a type of environment where it's very time structured.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I have a brother who is fabulous at what he does, but he was ADD, and somehow he just gravitated to this on his own, where he's in the type of career where it's wherever his laptop is. He can be at the pool, he can be anywhere. So he's not confined to an office, he's not confined to a set time with anything. Whereas like with teachers, it's every class, it's very structured.
Yeah, and it's a very important thing to take into account. You would not want to have a very introverted salesman the way you wouldn't want to have a very extroverted accountant. Some accountants are very extroverted, but they could be very good at their job, but they might not be happy in that role. And certainly when you have the type of freedom that you need, the type of environment that you need, that's going to help. A lot of people go into the teaching profession because they want to help. They want to help kids. What they don't realize is they're going to have to be the bad guy a good amount of the time. They're going to have to discipline, and if their type of personality is they want to avoid conflict, the kids are going to walk all over them. They're going to have trouble, and then their dream job turns into something that's very difficult. So personality type is very important to take into account. The last, of course, is society's needs. If you find something that you're interested in and society also needs, that's really where you find purpose and where you find yourself needed. And 2 fields that are rapidly expanding now, of course, are the medical field, and certain types of computer areas are very rapidly expanding. If you can find some type of interest in those, it's going to be a little bit easier for your son or daughter. Finding something that society needs is also easier because if you end up in a job that you don't like, let's say it's your dream job, but the environment's terrible, the boss is mean, your coworkers are not friendly, it'll increase your chances of being able to move laterally into a similar job. So this is how I help young adults with career advice. Yeah.
Dan, just in the interest of time here,
Sure.
my ADD is kicked in. I've only got 2 of the 6 success factors.
Yes.
If you have gotten to them, I wonder if you could recap them.
I haven't gotten to them yet.
Okay.
Nope.
Am I on track here? We're coming up on number 3.
Yep, number 3
All
right now, personal development.
All right. No, I just didn't know if he covered more of them in this discussion about this.
No, I haven't. Also, this presentation hopefully will be on YouTube. That's why I have somebody filming.
Oh,
so
excellent.
you can find it later. Also, if you miss anything, feel free to look
Do
back.
you have your own hashtag? We can.
Yeah, I'll develop one. Okay, LDA hashtag LDANJ. So the third one is personal development. These are the psychological assets needed to become successful that we talked about in the child trend study. So this is developing a sense of self-esteem and maturity. The ways to build this is to have your son or daughter work with a mentor or a therapist if necessary. another great way is to have them involved in new experiences and experience new ideas. A popular concept in Europe is actually the concept of the gap year, where students take a year off after high school to kind of find themselves. So they do traveling. It's not sitting on the couch and hanging out with friends. It's really going out and doing things out in the community where they're able to see new experiences. And this is what allows somebody to grow as a person, is to experience new things. And for the right individual, that can be a good opportunity. Certainly the three things that you want to focus on and build in this area are building that self-esteem and their own sense of competence, their goals and visions for the future, which we touched upon in Factor 2. But they also want to identify their values. What do they really believe in? What is really going to make them happy in the long run? And this is things that they probably haven't thought too much about in high school, and now that they're on their own, they're going to have to really give a lot of thought to. The third one is creating positive habits. So these are our time management habits, our organization habits, and old habits are extremely hard to break, so definitely working with a professional on these in a good skill building program is important. And this relates to our next factor. Number 4 is non-academic skills training. So once again, these are our communication, social skills, our organization, our study skills, being able to manage time. Because what is the real challenge of college? And it's not the academics, it's not how hard the classes are. What is the real challenge?
Getting it all done.
Getting it all
Not getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, not getting overwhelmed, getting the assignments done. Let's look at a real freshman year, first semester schedule. This is from one of my clients that attends Bergen Community College. This is his schedule that they gave him. What do you notice about it?
He's got Friday off.
He's got Friday off, a lot of time off. Some days he's out before 1 p.m. Most days he doesn't have to be in until 11 a.m. So it's not that he has.
I would have wanted that.
Yeah, this is a great schedule.
It's a government job.
Yeah. So,
yeah, but it's easy to sleep in and not get to class.
Yeah, it's very easy to certainly miss class, but it's not what to do, managing all your time and having to do so much, but it's what to do with all this time that you actually have. This in itself is not bad, but when you couple it with the average first semester syllabus, this is one of those classes. This is Sociology 101. Here, your average college syllabus, you have 3 important days in your college semester. You have your midterm exam at the end of October, you have your final exam at the end of December, and then one day, December 3rd, you have 3 major projects and assignments due, all on the same day.
You better be able to plan to get to those.
Exactly. Which one of these are you going to start first? How are you going to organize this? According to this syllabus, they're not discussing these projects in class, they're just going over each individual chapter, and it's probably a lecture, and there's no class time spent on projects. This is for you to do in your own time, based on what you've learned, and get them in. So being able to organize these is really the challenge of college, because you have all this time, but you don't really have all that time. You think you have all that time, but you actually don't. So 2 tips to help your son or daughter succeed with this is, the first is, Vince Verassi actually gave me this tip, and he's presenting 2 rooms down from here, and I incorporated this into my own life and my own productivity and that of my clients shot through the roof. Don't make to-do lists. To-do lists don't make to-do lists. They are wish lists, and you will not accomplish most of the things on that list. Yeah. Some people have that self-discipline, but it's not about the to-do list itself. It's how the to-do lists are written. You need to write a detailed to-do list, detailed schedule. Don't write what you're going to do. Write exactly what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. So here's an example.
On the calendar.
Exactly.
So I have to do it this day.
Exactly. So that's really the difference. Is instead of saying today I'm going to work on my essay, You got to say, today I'm going to work on the introduction of my essay between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m.
Right.
So so what you're talking about is a schedule rather than
Yes.
a to-do. The to-do list is, yeah, I need to go grocery shopping, I need to do this. You don't really see how what you need to do fits into your actual daily routine and how long it's going to take. You need to account for all those factors. So having a detailed schedule is a great way to do that. The other thing that goes hand in hand with this is the ability to take big projects and break them down into smaller ones. So if you have an essay, you're going to spend a little bit of time picking a really good topic, then you're going to spend time doing research, you're going to outline the essay, then you're going to write the introduction. So it's not one big project, it's really 7 or 8 little projects, and being able to break that down on your own is really important. And then once you break it down, put it in your detailed schedule. And that's going to really allow a young adult to manage this and be successful.
You know what I have found, that I have a son who's in high school, and I have tried to teach him time management since he was in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And he has fought it constantly. But I don't feel, maybe they teach it in high school. There's never been anywhere in any of his education where he's actually been taught this and learned this.
Yeah, they don't have a lot.
And to me, that's it's a major incorporation into everything else he learns. Because if he doesn't have any of that, he doesn't have anything else.
Absolutely, and that's why there's a ton of great skill building programs after high school. I don't know why they don't teach it in high school. I remember in my own education experience, we had 1 quarter of a year we spent on the study skills and time management, and it was in, I believe, 8th grade, and then we never had it again. And I'm not really sure, and it really does take somebody who knows how to work with this population of students to help them learn how to time manage and organize, because they're not gonna pick it up right away. You could do it, 5 times and they still might not pick it up. It's a lot of trial and error.
Russell Barkley does a lot of research into ADHD, he's a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And his research has shown that kids with ADHD in particular actually physically do not understand the concept of time. They do not know how long a minute is, how long an hour is, 2 hours. It's all the same to them.
It's their executive functioning skills.
Exactly.
are
Absolutely.
diminished.
Yeah, I deal with that in my session
And
later
you-
today.
And you can't teach executive function.
Well,
You
you
can. It
Yes,
is-
you can.
yeah.
Come to my
You'd be
session
trained.
and
Yeah.
come to my table, because I do have programs that you can help teach the time management. Actually,
And
come
like
to
I
my
said,
table. I
you
have
need
homework programs
professionals.
for
You
kids.
need professionals who know how
You
to.
have to
listen
do-
to their parents anyway, no matter
No,
how much
you
we-
have-
Exactly.
You
You need a
can't yell and
professional.
scream. You have to give them, like you said, the schedule. My son is 31, and I had schedules all over the place. When he went off to college, he literally scheduled his day. When he got up, everything was scheduled. Brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, have breakfast, do this. Everything had a time slot, and that was the only way he got through the day. And then one day I saw him pacing around the house muttering. I'm like, okay, he's going off the deep end. No, he was reciting his schedule to himself
Trying to memorize
of what he had to do. And he would do that, and then he would get through the day. God forbid my husband interrupted this pacing with, Evan, take out the garbage. It was shut to hell, because he couldn't remember because he got interrupted. But once he had it in his brain for the day, he would go through the schedule. Don't interrupt him though. But you have to structure externally, and they have to learn how to structure themselves externally with either reciting to themselves, putting it on their phone, which is Vince's session, or I came up with a program called Gee Whiz, I Finished My Homework. It's an external way of doing it, but it must come from them. They have to do it. You can provide them the tool, but they eventually...
They need to see the value and the point in doing so, and certainly it's something that also comes with age as well.
Right, but I work with a timer. I used to tell my son, you have 1 television show's worth, he was a television addict, you have 1 TV show, because he would watch a half-hour show.
So here's
That's how
30
long you have,
minutes.
and that's how he learned how long a half an hour was, because you have to relate the time to something they understand. It's a cartoon show's worth of time, and that's because they don't understand what the time is.
Yeah, so definitely working with a professional on that and working on that, it will increase your chances of success big time. And certainly, talk to Vince Verassi and definitely attend that next session. There has been more, what is it?
Session K,
Session
classroom
K.
survival skills.
There's a lot
for
more
teachers and
research that's coming out now on this very area, and it absolutely can be taught and built. It'll take time and a lot of effort, but it can be. So our number 5 and 6 here for success factors and indicators. Number 5 is something that flies under the radar, mainly because it's very difficult to change and improve, is a positive peer support group. Oftentimes the people that we surround ourselves with have a huge influence on us. As one popular saying goes, you are the average of the 5 peers you spend the most time with. So think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they bringing you up or are they bringing you down? For young adults, if they have a negative peer group and a number of young adults that aren't going places, it's going to be very difficult for them to break away from this group and then become successful. A lot of the young adults I see that are struggling don't have that solid peer support group. And this goes for lacking a support group as well. Having a solid group of friends that can help you through personal struggles is very important. Now, how do you build this if you don't have it? Certainly,
What if kids think they have it because they're texting other people, but in real life, they're not spending it?
That's where you
Or they
need
think
to.
they have it because they're hanging out with certain kids in school, but at home, they're not. They're texting all the time.
Well, at that point, that's when they need to, well, there's 2 things I can suggest for you. Number 1 is the personal development. So the third factor is when they develop more self-esteem and maturity, they're going to be able to identify on their own that this is not really a positive peer support group. I need to go out and find another direction. Another great way is to introduce them to more new ideas and experiences. So there are a lot of social groups now geared towards students with all sorts of different circumstances, and being able to attend one of those groups would be great. Send them, on to different camps and things like that, where they'll be able to see what a positive relationship really is like. So this is very tough to improve because you can't choose your son or daughter's friends, but is a very important factor nonetheless in their long-term success. Yeah.
I mean, when you're also talking about a positive peer support group, you also have to be able to look in your town to see if there ever was one, or if people are even interested in having one. And as far as the other thing is support group and friends. So it's very hard because when you have a child who has a learning disability or has a disability, you don't always have the circumstances within your own town to have friends come to your house or have people after school, and that is a big damper from 5 years old going up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you don't have that positive friends or support group, it's regardless of how positive the person may feel, it's very hard to look at other people who are not necessarily learning disability, who are able to go out to the community centers and hang out in the mall and stuff like that, and you can't do that. Not so much as a person that you cannot, but the society, you can't. You don't know whether being taken advantage of, or there really are friends.
Well, certainly, yeah, that can be a big concern. I would still let them go under certain circumstances, supervision, but
right.
The first thing I do when I have a client that's going to a post-secondary institution, I say, when is the club fair? And I go with them to the club fair. We find great clubs for them. Always at Burton Community College, which is the institution that I have most experience with, they always want to go to the video game club. And there's a whole bunch of really great peers that are all being successful in college and are going places and have similar interests. So I end up going there with them often. I put on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and play video games with them and help them with social skills, but they think I'm just another college student there interacting with them. But helping them build this in one way or another, and finding that club is really important. And all colleges have clubs that anybody can join, and they can't exclude you from it. So that's certainly a great way to go.
But again, whether it's high school or college,
as a parent, you know that there's all this available to them. But if they don't somehow take the initiative, you can't handle them to be involved in certain clubs. You can suggest this, that, or the other thing that might be interesting based on their personality or whatever, but again, you can't force them to do that
The
at that
question
age.
really is, what is holding them back? Why is there a lack of motivation to do any particular thing?
Because their personality is just not assertive.
Potentially, so they could have some maybe social anxiety, some fear that they might not be accepted, and they just don't feel comfortable introducing themselves to strangers. And that's when you bring in the skill building component, and they need to be taught these non-academic skills such as social skills. You need to build up their self-determination, self-advocacy, and their ability to communicate. So all of these steps kind of go hand in hand. If one of them is lacking, it's going to bring down the others as well. So certainly, engaging in skill building programs is really an important thing there. Yes?
I don't know if you want to get to this, but I see that this is getting ready to end. I know, yeah. In the beginning, you talked about the DVP population and the DVR services population with our children, and basically you were saying that there's that population that falls on us as parents, and that they basically fall on the wayside, and that's where your service comes into play.
Yes.
Could you tell me, like, where are you at, or basically, I don't know if you're going to get to that, or do you know of any other? Where are you at? Also,
Yes.
are there any other agencies that you would recommend as a parent go to?
I don't know of a lot of agencies. I know a lot of great skill building programs. I know that there's a great Asperger's skill building program over at, they house themselves at William Patterson. I know there's a great transition program such as the Banyan School. Where I saw the gap in the system is the holistic case management and really providing a broad range of services. So what I do, I didn't want to advertise my own company because I'm really supposed to be, kind of giving a general lecture, but I do offer that, and I do offer the employment skills and social skills training. I do offer plan creation, counseling, and we do supported employment, so we help our young adults get jobs and internships, and we also provide college support services. So I help the young.
Do you have a list of like your type of
He has a
services,
table.
all of
Yeah,
it?
at the table.
Oh, you have it.
He has
I
a
do,
table.
and
There
I
are
have
two
a
vendor
whole
areas,
list.
so it's out in the one that's
He has a
Now,
lot.
there's-
off to the right.
There's a lot of people who do similar things to what I do, but nobody that exactly does what I do. And I built this program around where there weren't these services. There are these tremendous gaps, and that's how I developed it. Yes.
How high in age do you go? I mean, because there's a lot of talk about children, high school,
Yeah.
My
college.
oldest
All those are
client is
okay.
38. So
39, so okay.
So,
Yeah, even my 31-year-old.
I don't turn anybody away. I know that a lot of services end at 21.
Yeah.
Some end at 25, so I really want to, anybody that feels like they could benefit from it, I try to offer it to them, because that in itself is a gap in the system. When people still need extra help and they're 21, they can't get it anymore.
Yeah.
So
So-
do you
That's-
have
like
access to these
access.
programs,
What do you mean?
to the resources?
Not traditionally, no. But I create my own programs and resources to cover these areas.
Is it kind of like a life skills coach?
Yes, there's. I am a certified life coach. I have my master's in special education. I taught for a number of years. So I do provide, as you said, life coaching and counseling. We create a really clear transition assessment and plan. We do employment skills training, life skills training. We give them jobs and internships, and then we provide college support services if that's an option. And we'll do anything else necessary. If it's completely outside the box, we can accommodate. So it's really kind of a one-stop shop, hopefully. Let me finish up then, because we're kind of out of time. Another thing is some post-secondary education. Notice I said some. As you said before, some of these 2-year training programs are absolutely great. 27% of certificate recipients make more than the average bachelor's degree recipient. So having just a little bit of education can sometimes be just as good as getting that 4-year degree. These are our skilled tradesmen working in plumbing, carpentry. They are auto mechanics, are dental hygienists, make a great starting salary, and they only need 2 years of education. Air traffic controllers, personal trainers, real estate agents. The list goes on individuals.
And a lot of times they pay for you to get further trainings.
Absolutely, yeah. That's certainly the case a lot of times. I don't know why that came down.
They're going to sleep.
Yeah, yeah. I think my
Just press the on button.
the no, it's
No, for the laptop.
the
on.
screen
It's
is
on.
on.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know what? Let me
look.
try
Might be
plugging
okay.
it and plugging it in again. that might be a good thing. Okay.
Press the
Sorry,
on button.
oh, that should be that should
Yeah,
be
there you go.
Okay, perfect. Last thing. All right, so the last thing I wanted to talk to you about today is what can you do now as parents, regardless of any life stage that your son or daughter is in, whether they're still in their sophomore year of high school or they recently graduated, what can you do now? Number one is take on some of these previous indicators 1 through 6, as we discussed, helping them find and gain work experience, signing them up for a skill building program. But the second one is really the most important, and this is what your role should become once they graduate high school, is the role of helping them build resilience and independence, where you become the person who is the support rather than the actual doer and the helper. So what you want them to do in order to help them build resilience and independence is you want them to experience good struggle and good discussion. So you want them to struggle through some type of problem, be able to overcome it with, of course, your support, and then be able to reflect on it in some type of really intelligent type of conversation. This is how resilience is built, when somebody overcomes some type of problem on their own with support, and then they're able to reflect back upon it. I'll tell you a quick story. The first conference I ever went to for students with special needs was the Aspen conference. And a young adult, the speaker was talking about how to build independent living skills among young adults. And this one young adult on the autism spectrum stood up and said, when I was at home, it usually took my mother a lot of effort and time in order to get me out of bed. It would take just a ton of effort. Anybody familiar with this circumstance? So then he said, but when I went away to residential program, I was able to get myself out of bed consistently and on my own. Because I knew that if I didn't get myself out of bed, nobody would be there to do it for me.
Mom wasn't there.
So we need to, one of the best things you can do is stop doing things that they can do physically on their own. And yes, they're going to struggle. They'll miss the bus the first couple days, or they won't have clean clothes because you didn't do their laundry, but eventually they'll realize that that this is something that I need to be doing on my own, and my mother's not going to help me with this anymore. So this is very important. If you're doing their laundry at age 18, expect to be doing it at age 25, or until you just decide that you're not going to do it. So a lot of what you do also has to do with what you expect for your son or daughter in the future. If you expect them to go to college, when they're in high school, you need to scale back some of those accommodations and modifications. In college, once again, they're going to get extra time, a note taker, some assistive technology, but there won't be that broad range of support. I've seen young adults try to go from the resource room to a college campus, and it just doesn't work. From having a one-on-one aide in class to going to college, and that's what makes it so difficult, is it's such a huge jump rather than a step. And I know many of you are used to fighting for accommodations and modifications and getting those extra ones, but really if you want them to go on to college and be more self-sufficient, you need to scale a lot of these back to, and of course start slowly around sophomore, junior year, slowly bringing some back, especially around senior year, to where they really take a larger role in their own education. So once again, you want to generally move to the sideline and let your child experience some fails, some struggle along the way. That's what is really going to help them to learn. And your job is to then provide support and good discussion. So when your son or daughter comes to you and says, I have a problem with this teacher, or this situation going on, don't say to them, I'll take care of it. I'll talk to that person, and I'll figure out what to do. Say, what do you think we should do about that? How do you think we should handle this situation? Yes.
When my eldest daughter started college, she was having trouble with a biology professor, and you're so used to talking to teachers in school, and I was so close to picking up the phone. I admit it. And my
even if they wanted to, they couldn't talk to you.
That's it.
Yeah.
And my husband reminded me, he says, do you really think they're going to talk to you on the phone? And how's she going to feel about it?
Yeah.
By the time the other two started college, if they were having trouble, I said, deal with it.
Yeah.
Figure out how to deal with it and deal with it.
Well, it's even more than figure out how to deal with it. It's you being that resource for a conversation is really the best way to do it. Okay. Is talk to them and help them brainstorm different ideas, because maybe they don't know what to do. But you'll say, what do you think I would do in this situation? You'll say, oh, what do you think about this idea? Do you think that this will work? And have them accountable for putting into place some of these actions and these choices to where they see that there's natural consequences to the things that they do, and that their actions have some real effect on their lives. And if you're the one providing that resource for discussion rather than telling them, they're going to be a lot more receptive in the future to your to talking to you, especially when you let them take that lead. Yes.
One point that I wanted to ask was, what do you do if your daughter or son does not necessarily communicate well their thoughts or words about discussion? Like, in other words, saying there is a concern about a teacher or whatever, and they don't know how to approach you and say, hey, Mom, or Dad, or whatever, I'm having a problem, can you help? Yeah. Say they don't know how to start that profession because they don't necessarily have a communication.
Exactly.
Say, everything's right.
I would say two things.
So how do you bring that? How do you, number one, know if there's a problem if they won't necessarily communicate with you? Period.
Well, that's a whole other animal. I'm not really sure.
No, but I'm talking about on that aspect. You're talking about how to talk about
yes.
the problems that you might have if you don't even know if there's a problem or what they're thinking because they don't necessarily say it.
Well, there's two things that I would suggest. The first, of course, is skill building on communication. But what is really important is for you to be that resource where you can sit down with him and say, let's say he comes to you and he says, I have this problem with this teacher, but you know they don't have great communication skills. You can kind of role play and talk to them and say, if you have a problem with the teacher, maybe you should handle it like this, and how do you think she would respond if you said this? So kind of play that scenario out with them to where they're still a very active part of that process. You're not telling them what to do, but they're you're bouncing ideas off of each other, collaboratively problem solving and trying to figure out what the best way to do is. And then you'll say at the end of it, okay, this is our plan, we're going to try this, let me know how it works. So they'll go to their teacher and they'll say, Ms. So-and-so, I'm not very good at communicating what I have to say, but I've noticed this thing in class and it's kind of bothered me, and I was just wondering if I could talk to you about how we can improve that. And it's going to be tough for them to say, but if they have practice doing that and they have that support system that can go through that scenario with them, it's going to increase their chances, because once they get to college, as you said, they're not going to talk to you at all. So they need that practice early on.
They often don't do that in high school. I mean, that's just the nature of that age. But if you just, I have a child who doesn't communicate anything, and he'll just say everything's fine, or we did nothing. Like he just doesn't ever want to talk about school once he's home. So I just make him aware that, well, I'm available if you want to discuss anything. Just know I'm interested in what you're doing. Yeah. I'm not trying to bug you or nag you. Just being there because I'm interested. So I try to make him, at least understand that I'm there for him if he really needs me for something.
Absolutely, and that's really if they're unwilling to share a whole lot, that's really the best thing that you can do. And I'm sure that if he ever really did run into any real trouble, you'd be the first person that he would go to. Absolutely.
What about teaching your children? I don't have children, but teaching your children to learn how to advocate for themselves, because even once you leave college in your 30s, being an adult with a learning disability is probably way harder than being in school. And not because it's not hard, but being out there with all the sea of people and living on your own and socially making friends and all that, it's extremely hard. Not like when you're in school, your mom and dad took care of everything. You need to learn to socialize. My parents were in their late 60s. They can't keep worrying about me and what I'm going, So I think you need to learn to teach your children how to advocate.
And the earlier on, the better, and they're going to experience failure, but it's better to experience that failure in a place that allows for failure, that is supportive when they actually have time to do that. So I guess we're probably out of time. I just want to bring up these two resources for you. If you're wondering on ways to, these go over great ways to talk to your son or daughter and collaboratively problem solve. One is Raising Resilient Children by Robert Brooks and Sam Goldstein. Really goes through the gamut of raising, of helping your son or daughter become more independent and resilient, be able to solve their problems on their own. The other one is a program put together by Dr. Ross Green. There's a picture of him. It's at a website called livesinthebalance.org, and the process is called collaboratively problem solving, and it details exactly what I just spoke to you about on how to, if there's a problem, collaboratively figure out a way to solve that and how to communicate with your son or daughter about that. So these are two great resources for you. So just to conclude, and then I don't know if I have any time for additional questions, but transition is really difficult right now for many reasons. Success is far from guaranteed. However, if you keep certain factors in mind and you continue to encourage and push independence and resilience, you increase the chances of success tremendously. If you have any trouble, please feel free to give me a call or reach out to me. I'll be glad to be a resource for you to help. And I thank you for taking the time to
Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Please don't forget to fill out your evaluation sheets and turn them in at the end of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.